Well guys, with the success of my previous videos where I put other people into the lands between to see how much or how long they could survive, I realized that I never took a step back to actually see what would life be in the lands between if one of the demigods had won. Obviously the demigods like Ranni aren't going to be useful in this list because, well, we know what happens if she had won the Shattering War. And the war wouldn't have happened in the first place if Godwin the Golden hadn't been assassinated, so he can't be here. So where do we start on this twisted list of demigods with its intrigue, backstabs, and everything in between? Well, I'd say we'd probably start with the first demigod that we fight in Godrick the Grafted. What all do we know about this misshapen monstrosity? Well, first things first, considering he had a change of name from Godrick the Golden to Godrick the Grafted sometime between when he left the capital and when he got to Stormvale, he wasn't always this ugly. But through what he considered a necessary means to increase his own power, he decided to embrace grafting. Grafting not only himself, but also his Stormhawks and his men, i.e. the grafted scions. We know that he's a coward due to the fact that he hid amongst the women while he was escaping the capital during the Shattering War, and that he decided to cower from Radahn inside of his castle as Radahn marched past. We also know that Malenia kicks his ass, but I mean, we've all been there, so we get that. So how would things have had to have changed in order for Godrick the Grafted to win this Shattering War and to become the Elden Lord? Well, first things first, there'd be no escaping Lindell. He would have to stand and fight, and due to the fact that he's a coward and likes to hide, the best way I see him beating anybody would be to find a way to assassinate Margaret the Fell-Omen King. Either while doing this or shortly after, he would notice Godfrey the Grafted, the other of the two grafted from the golden lineage, fighting against the city that he was in and be like, that guy's got a lot more power than I do. Maybe I can take Margaret here and attach part of him to me to increase my own power. And thus, Godrick would become grafted. I see no way that he can gain the power necessary to take on those like Radahn or Malenia at this point. His divine blood is, as told throughout the game, very diluted as is. We all know that during the Shattering War, Margaret was able to defeat Radahn, as by this picture here. So let's just say that by chance, now having Margaret's power, that Godrick could take on Radahn and succeed. As such, now Radahn's massive might and extreme control over gravity magic goes to Godrick. And two of the primary demigods of the Shattering War are already defeated. This leaves gods like Malenia, Blade of Miquella, Miquella himself, and Ranni the Witch left to contend. Let's not forget about Mog, but I don't think he's going to be much of a contender. Even though Mog is one of the demigods you fight in the game, he tended to sequester himself off after he kidnapped Miquella from the Erdtree, and kind of did a covert war kind of thing to make sure his own goals were reached. And while Ranni the Witch had a significant part playing into starting the Shattering War, she also did not really fight in it. So that's two demigods he doesn't have to worry about for this particular war. So the only challenge he truly has left would be Malenia, Blade of Miquella. And with his power combined with both Margaret's and Radahn's, I don't see it coming out on top for Malenia. Even with her trying out her Aeonian Bloom nuke attack that she has, I see that this would be happening in Limgrave between the two of them, just like it did in the original, and then Limgrave would just become the new Caelid. I still don't see her being successful. I don't really know if she would be able to do the same mind rot she did to just Radahn with the power of all three of these demigods, and they might be able to defeat her fast enough to take her rune. So now, with Godrick possessing 4 of the 9 total shards of the Elden Ring that exist in lore, he now has all that he needs in order to become Elden Lord. I mean, heck, you only need, what, 2 when you go into the game? So now we have Godrick the Grafted, returning home and bathing in rays of golden light, becoming Godrick the Golden again. He is the new Elden Lord, he is the leader of the lands. How will the lands be under the rule of Godrick the Grafted? Well, honestly, I think it would be a real shit show. I could see it going one of 2 ways. Godrick, knowing that he reached such magnitudes of power through grafting those other demigods to himself, could either A, make it so his entire army and everyone in it would also have to be grafted monstrosities, pulling parts from different people and gluing them onto his subjects, just to make sure that he stays in power due to the fact that he has a powerful army and will never have to fight again. In this reality, no corpse goes to waste. There's no longer watering the Elden Tree with the blood of the corpses from around the world. No, every corpse gets put into making somebody stronger. If you're a weak corpse, maybe they'll throw you into the tree, but for the most part, you become part of these amalgamations of flesh and sorcery, wielding multiple weapons so that you can always defend or attack your opponents. Now, sadly, under the B scenario, the world would be more Orwellian. Godrick, fearful of the power that can be gifted to somebody through grafting, would outlaw it, would ban it around the world. He would set up spy organizations to watch his citizens, making sure none of them stepped out of line. If a book on the subject was found, then in would come the secret police, burn down your establishment, burn down your building, take you to prison, torture you so that they would know what you had found out about the sacred art of grafting. Only the divine would be able to do this art from this point on. And that's only under the established land that was already part of what would be the post-Shattering War area, which would be Lindell and freaking Limgrave, along with places like Caelid under his control and the Erdtree now under his control. But Lernia is still around. You still got freaking Rennala out there. I mean, lovesick and insane, but how would he handle these challenges to his power? Well, at this point, Godrick is already the Elden Lord, and because he defeated all the other demigods, that's got to put a chip on his multi-shouldered ass. So, he's not going to stand for having other nations that he would have to be allied with at this point. Rennala is weak, it's time to go after her. And I can easily see Godrick taking out the Carian houses. I mean, Rennala's down. There's not much left there. If he has the combined forces of the rest of the known lands between world to go up against just Lakes of Lernia, I mean, there's not much of a fight there anymore. You have a few camps and then a crippled queen. Godrick, being the one who wants to bring back the full Golden Order, would also try hunting down the rest of the shards of the Elden Ring after he's won the Shattering War. So he's going after Ranni. He's going after Mohg, and as such, also Miquella, because Mohg has Miquella. And even though I forgot about, Rykard being all blasphemous and shit up in his volcano manor, he would eventually want to go after Rykard also. Now, Rykard did fight in the Shattering War, but when you count the big players in the Shattering War, do you really ever think Rykard was one of the big players? I mean, if I'm wrong, let me know in the comment section down below, but I feel like he was just kind of an asshole off on the side for this whole thing. And let's face it, other than Rykard, who arguably has the biggest army left to face him, you've got people like Ranni the Witch, who only has Blide, her shadow, a troll Carian blacksmith named Iji, and another wizard to fight at her side. So she doesn't really have the forces to go up against this man. Rennala got locked away for being lovesick, and most of her forces are disjointed. Mohg has a bunch of fervent worshippers that really don't do anything except for explode, or they are Albinorics who, while decently powerful, can probably be taken out by the armies that Godrick is going to have at this point. And with each step taken towards collecting the rest of the pieces of the Elden Ring, Godrick himself would just keep becoming more and more powerful, grafting the best parts of each and every one of his fallen opponents to himself. The more I think about it, though, the more I'm laughing, because I mean, seriously, just imagine it with like 6 heads, fucking 400 arms, just sitting here looking like a really, really bad interpretation of the Japanese 1,000 arms Senju Kanon. But with that tangent aside, after Godrick claims all shards of the Elden Ring, including Ranni's, which is on the moon, don't know how he's getting there, but let's just assume that he gets this shard. He returns back. He's already Elden Lord, so he returns back into the chambers, reforges the entire Elden Ring, and is now the lord of a completely redone, remade, slave to the outer god, the greater will himself, Godrick the Golden. So in the end, even though Godrick dreamed of reuniting and leading the Golden Order, he instead would become a slave to the greater will himself, shackling not only him, but his people forever to the will that led his mother astray, in either a grafted paradise or in an Orwellian hellscape. And with that, that's roughly where I think the lands would be if Godrick the Grafted had managed to win the Shattering War and take over the lands between. Well guys, what do you think? Go ahead and throw a like on the video and subscribe if you're not already. Let me know if you guys want me to continue to do videos like this on the other demigods, or if you'd like me to go more into detail on the setup for each of these scenarios. It's been nice having you guys here. Have a wonderful day, and I hope you're all doing well. Peace.